Okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
You're not in frame. Don't worry. Hello to all our friends out there in YouTube land. It's your good buddy Philtastic Phil. Joined with me is
Hi.
my beautiful wife, and you might hear my little baby girl chirping. And welcome back to our channel. We just got done watching Blue Beetle on HBO Max, so we figured we'd give you our impromptu thoughts, feelings, a little bit of a review, if you will. I should note, if you haven't seen the film yet, we're just going to come out with spoilers. So I guess this is your last, your final warning, why don't we say. So, overall, honey, what are your thoughts?
I'm disappointed.
Yeah, you were looking forward to this film.
Yeah, I really wanted to see it. I really was hoping it was going to be good. I don't know what kind of expectations I had going into it, but that wasn't it. To say the least. I thought it was very predictable. I thought it was pretty laid out for you. Like there was no suspense. There was nothing out of the ordinary.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. I don't know. Like, would you agree with that or?
I mean, and I'm going to preface, of course, by saying these are our opinions. You know, if you feel differently, that's fine. We could still be friends. You know, we're just going to talk about you funny when you're not listening and when you're not around. But no, I mean, to be honest with you, I thought this is what we got. I figured this is what we'd be getting. I felt that way since I saw the initial trailers because I felt like they were like, hey, you know what? We've got this character, Blue Beetle. And I'm going to preface this by saying as well, I'm not 100% familiar with Blue Beetle. I know the character. I have his first appearance. You saw I had a not so great unboxing that came from CGC shortly after this movie was released. You know, I did read a little bit of his solo series. I think that was during New 52. I could be wrong. And it was just kind of like the character itself didn't resonate with me before it came in. Like when they said, "Hey, we're going to do a Blue Beetle movie," I was like, "Oh, okay." You know, there was at no point I was jazzed to see a Blue Beetle film. We'll get that out of the way. When I saw the initial trailer, I was like, you know what? I feel like they just figured, let's take what we can from existing superhero films and put it together into one film. And that's really what I feel like it is. It's like they took a lot of Iron Man, a little bit of Spider-Man, a little bit of Ant-Man.
Yeah, I see a little bit.
And tried to infuse some kind of, like, I would say Guardians type of humor into it. A couple musical sequences that were kind of like didn't work out well.
Yeah.
But I mean, well, let me ask you something. What are the things that you liked about it?
I liked how they set up the story in the beginning. I liked the beginning. I'm not gonna lie. And then it kind of went kind of downhill and kind of boring from there. Like
So
I thought it was gonna take off.
At what point do you feel like it was like, all right, this is it?
Once he was going to see the girl for the job, and then when she gave him the box and said, "Oh, don't open this," and I thought it was a little the way they did that.
Yeah.
And then he went home and opened it.
Of course, he's going to go home and open it. Yeah.
So I thought it was a little cheesy in that sense. I don't know. I thought it was just kind of
I want to come back to that cheesy point in a second, but what I thought was interesting, I thought the casting was really good in it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I thought all of the actors were good until they weren't.
Yeah.
It's like they were all cast great. The kid who plays Jaime, I think, is great. But every single one of them just had a certain point where it was like, that's really the take that they went with. Like that delivery was just
And that part where the father was dying was just so unbearable to watch.
Yeah.
Like that part was so sad.
I mean, if for comic book film fans from the '90s, I can equate some of those scenes to if you saw the original Spawn film when they when Wanda is doing her presentation, and you're just like, you would have gotten a C+ in this at best in school. I felt like that was the entire kind of feel whenever somebody delivered their lines, and there were a couple times that did it. Um, I did like that they tied Ted Kord into this. Ted Kord is the original Blue Beetle, which you did get from this. Um, he, I could tell you the limited knowledge I do have of Blue Beetle. This didn't follow a script or a particular story. Ted Kord was, and again, spoilers, killed by, do you remember Maxwell Lord?
No.
He was the villain in the terrible Wonder Woman movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he was kind of like a media mogul, and he shot Ted Kord in front of everybody, and he kind of, which enraged Wonder Woman, and she actually killed him on a broadcast that was sent all around the world, and that kind of launched the OMAC program. That wanted to bring me to this next thing. I liked that they included the OMACs. Now, this is not anything that is like if you've read. I think that was during. I'm trying to remember one of DC's crossovers. It wasn't Identity Crisis. I think it was during Countdown. I don't know. It's nothing like that. I don't even think it's like Kirby's OMAC. But the villain, not the primary villain, but the villain in it is an OMAC, as in, hey, this sounds like a different concept. Let's try to use this. This fits into our script. Susan Sarandon, I have to say, was terrible in it.
Yeah.
I'm not a Susan Sarandon fan to begin with. I'll tell you if I like her in a movie or not. This was a garbage performance for her.
I wouldn't say garbage, but it was close to it. Yeah. What'd you think of the villain?
Susan Sarandon? What just said? I didn't like her.
The
OMAC.
Yeah.
Again, I thought he actually was interesting, but they made him interesting too late in the movie.
I thought it was kind of Transformers.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a major complaint I had with it too, is that in addition to all of these different scenes that you've seen in superhero films before, right down to, when the bus is split right in half like in the Eternals, there's all these familiar action sequences that you're with. It's funny that you said Transformers, because that last scene when we just saw Jenny on the motorcycle, my first thought was, Megan Fox in Transformers.
Yeah.
But I have to, DC I think lost a little bit of ground, special effects wise, in this for me.
Yep.
Both DC more so than Marvel films. I'll say this: I think the last time Marvel did it was Age of Ultron, but DC did it up through the first Wonder Woman film. Whenever they had these action sequences, they totally CGI'd them, but it was like a shiny CGI. So you feel like you're like. I had the same feeling watching that big fight between Blue Beetle and OMAC here, like I did watching the big fight with Doomsday in Batman versus Superman. I felt like I was watching a cutscene in Mortal Kombat. Like, okay, I'm watching a video game. I'm not watching a movie anymore. It even, when that scene where he pulls out that giant sword, and I remember, I think that was like the last trailer that came out. I was like, yeah, this is a video game. Even the background was like, you could tell it was totally rendered.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of surprised that they went back to that, because like I said, after the first Wonder Woman movie, I don't think I saw the effects that bad. Maybe Wonder Woman 1984 had a couple iffy parts in it. But yeah, I mean, that was a slide back completely.
It was dragged out to the point where it was just kind of boring.
Because we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
My big question, and I still can't really figure this out, who is this movie for? Who is the intended audience? Because it has this whole kind of theme and feeling of it as kind of like a little bit light and goofy at times, and then you have these like big pretty like violent scenes, like not like something you'd see in a R-rated action movie, but something like if you see, she agrees. If you were taking your kid to see it, I'm like, yeah, they'd get a nightmare from that. Like
Yeah.
Omac, especially, the guy's all scarred up and everything. He could be a scary looking dude.
I don't know. It just didn't work out for me
So,
overall.
do you think it's that they leaned in? I feel that the major issue is there was nothing in here that was unique. Like movies usually have that one scene
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that make it just pop out, and this it was like, like oh no,
yeah.
and I felt like they spoon fed you a little too much at times too. Like, and this kind of goes into the tone of the goofiness, like when the grandmother suddenly reveals in the Beetle ship, which looks like something out of Watchmen, that she used to be this rebel.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it came out as childish and goofy.
Yeah.
They could have just not even mentioned that. And then the scene where later on where she like kills a bunch of guys, like they could have just showed it there. Because now I was like, oh, oh, you just murdered a bunch of people. Way to go, Grandma.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny though.
So where do you rate Blue Beetle?
2.
How about on our like the scale I use for my book reviews?
What?
The worst would be burn in hell or burn after reading. I guess in this term it would be burn after watching. Meh, good, or must read.
Meh.
I agree. It is very meh at best. I do hope that we see Jaime Reyes back again and maybe some of the supporting cast. Not in another Blue Beetle film. They said that this is supposed to be the first of the new James Gunn DCU era films, if I'm not mistaken. I could be. But I can't. I don't.
What did you like about it though?
Like I said, I think I do like the cast.
Okay, but like about the storyline, I'm saying. Like, was there any part in the story where like, oh yeah, I like that part, or I like that scene?
I do like that they made you.
That's cool.
That they did give you some gravis on Omac towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
I felt like that's what I felt like that's what the first Iron Man film was missing. Is that when Tony had that big fight with Stain, you knew a little bit about Stain. They did a good job building up the relationship between Stain and the Stark family, but you really didn't get his overall motivation. So it just kind of came off as more of I want to rule this company. Here with Omac, they gave him a little bit more background, and it's nothing grand, but it's just enough to make you almost feel for the character. Albeit they did it, I think, a little too little with it, and I think they did it too late. I think if they started doing that much earlier in the film, you would have had some mixed emotions with Omac when he was fighting with Blue Beetle at the end.
Yeah, I agree.
And the helicopters are just dumb looking.
Oh yeah.
It looks like something from a cutscene in a PC game from 1994.
Did you notice at one point when it was showing the inside of the helicopter, you can tell like it was CGI?
Okay, yeah. And the bubble gum I didn't get.
Oh
I'll be
yeah.
honest with you. Like,
What was to protect them when they fell?
my first thought, to be honest with you, when they showed it in the ship was, oh, Mission Impossible. The first Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this has been done.
Yeah, like nothing really stood out to me.
So let me ask you, now the next, I think the next DC film, which hasn't been filmed yet, is going to be Superman Legacy.
Oh God.
If Blue Beetle were to pop up in Superman Legacy, would you be like, oh, there's Blue Beetle? Or would you just be like, oh, this jerk?
No, I'd be like, oh, okay. It would just I would just have a neutral opinion about it.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't really know if I will be excited ever again over a superhero movie. Because I've been disappointed every time I had expectations that it was going to be good, and then it was kind of downhill every time. So.
Well, hold on. You liked, what was the last one that we watched? I don't even remember.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, you didn't like Spider-Verse. You didn't like Guardians. You didn't like Ant-Man.
Yeah, see? Black Adam I didn't like.
Yeah.
I mean...
We still haven't seen Shazam. We still haven't seen Flash.
I don't even know if I should even consider those movies at this point.
One thing in the back of my head, I'm not going to mention names. I've talked about this with you, and I had film videos about this, but I never published them because I was just like, eh. I had a problem when there were some YouTubers who were jumping on board with, oh, the Marvels is failing 2 days before it actually came out, because there were like 5 reviews and it was rating it as a 40% rotten. No, the Marvels didn't perform well. 2023, you had 2 movies that performed well. 3 movies: Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Five Nights at Freddy's, or Friday Night. I don't even know that. I'm not familiar with it. And it's really because the people who are going to the movies now is just like that 13 to maybe 30 crew.
Mm-hmm.
Reggie did a good review, not a good review, a good kind of unload on that, where he gave the data. But you think about it too, it's just that money is so tight now. It's like, okay, well, if you have responsibilities in a job, you're not going to the movies, because you've already subscribed to these services. So it's like, okay, I'll wait 3 months for this to come on. Yes, you're going to have the people who are always like, I have to go out and see it in the theater. I need the theatrical experience, but whatever. So these same people, and a lot of these guys too, were like waving the, we don't like Marvels because it's woke, which I still don't understand, because how is 3 women in a movie make something woke? I haven't seen anything. We haven't seen the film yet, we'll say that, but I haven't seen anything that makes you say, oh, well, this is woke. The same people who are saying, oh, this is woke, blah, blah, are the same people who are saying Blue Beetle, Black Adam, Flash, and, just really those 3 were great movies. They're like, oh, I really liked these. We didn't see Flash yet. I'm not optimistic.
I'm not either.
For the reason that a week before it came out, like, oh, okay, so Batman and Supergirl from another universe is in here. I think Black Adam did the same thing. Like, when they have to tell you, hey, we have a big cameo, just so you know. It's like, all right, you really want people to go to the movie theater. So, is it fandom? Is it people just kind of, you're like, well, I like DC, or I like this character, so they could do no wrong? Or it's like, well, I hate this, so this has to be good. I mean, look, I like Marvel, I like DC. There are good Marvel movies, there's bad Marvel movies. There's, same as that there's good DC films and there's bad DC films. Right now, it's just the majority of them are kind of like not doing anything good or interesting for the superhero film genre. And I think that's what allows these criticisms of, well, superhero films are failing, blah, blah, blah.
I think it is too.
Well, look, I'll say this. Marvel's success in the films had been because up until I would say up through Infinity War, you didn't have, was it Infinity War? No, Endgame, I'm sorry. I felt like the films were either trying to do something thematically different, or at the very low point, like staying the same. Like when I say that, Thor: Dark in the World did nothing to hurt or progress superhero films. You know what I mean? Whereas Winter Soldier, it's like, okay, you can have a Tom Clancy feel to a superhero movie. Guardians, you can have an adventure type of film. I don't know.
I think it's just a money grab. That's all that is.
Well,
I don't really think they consider the quality of the movie anymore. It's just, how much can we make off of this movie?
Well, I'm still optimistic that, when Marvels comes streaming, we're going to watch it.
We are?
I want to watch it. Look, you liked Scarlet Witch. So you have Photon is in this. We both liked Ms. Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
We shall say. So, any parting remarks about the Blue Beetle or superhero films in general, honey?
I feel like I wasted my time again, and it's so disappointing to say that, because I could have used that time a little bit more productively by doing something else I would have enjoyed, you know? Like, it kills me that, you know, I get excited over it, and then to watch it and not like it and feel like I wasted my time is shocking.
At the end of the day, though, if you didn't see it, you'd always be sitting in the back of your head like, no, I really wanted to see that and I never saw it.
Yeah, but now I know better, you know?
Well, now she knows better. I guess that's the official review of the Blue Beetle. Now we know better. Well, that's all we have. That's a subscriber giveaway. If you comment on what superhero film, it could be Marvel, DC, something else. It could even be before we even had these big cinematic universes. You know, what superhero films was the biggest disappointment for you? If you just put that in the description here, not description, excuse me, in the comments, tell me what your most disappointing superhero or comic-related film will say was. You'll get an extra entry, and I'll promise I'll be going through and telling people exactly where they stand as far as entries go. For me, I will go ahead and I will say it was the second Crow film, which I don't remember what the title was, but that was the first film that I wanted to go home and actually write a letter. This was before emails were prevalent, I guess. I think it was City of Angels, I'm going to say. And just be like, why? You could have done this, this, and that. But I digress. We'll leave you as we always do. Peace, love, and comics. Take care, everyone.